So this is definitely one of the cooler Nice Guys on Business podcasts because you ever thought about how you place things in your office or how you place things in your home or where things are supposed to be in order to get the best energy? Now listen, I haven't taken a dive off the deep end. I promise you that. Today's guest, Kim Julien, she is the founder of Finding Your Fiji, a Feng Shui expert and a psychic. So you know how when I moved to California, things started to get a little bit woo. Well, before I moved to California, the only thing that I knew that rhymed with woo was Jew. And since I'm Jewish, I thought that was probably the best thing to do. So today's guest again, Kim Julien, she's a Feng Shui expert, and she handles it with Feng Shui as her expertise, intuitive skills, personal development, and business knowledge to create a unique approach to resolving your business and your life issues. She is here to talk. Please be ready to receive, because I have to tell you, as a guy that probably was one of the biggest skeptics of this and now is one of the biggest believers in this, I'm excited to have Kim here. So Kim, welcome to the Nice Guys podcast.
Thanks, Doug. I'm super excited to chat with you.
Well, one of the cool things about having you here is I very rarely, because I'm now on the West Coast, do I have a chance to talk to anybody that is in an earlier time zone than me.
Right.
So lay out the land for me right now. Where are you and what can you see right from where you are?
So right from where I am in Maui. I moved to Maui in May of 2017 from Minnesota, and I absolutely love it. I see palm trees outside my office window. It's a beautiful day. It's about 82 degrees.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
Wow.
It's amazing.
So tell me, how did you get into Feng Shui? And, thank you for correcting me at the beginning before we even hit record. I've always thought it was Feng Shui. I had no idea until you said it. And I've actually been following it for the last, for the last year or so. So how did you even get involved in it?
Actually, I feel like I've been innately doing it since I was young. I was always very sensitive to like my environment, my bedroom. I was always like moving things around in my bedroom, that type of thing, because I could just feel when things felt better when they were moved. So I feel like I've been doing it innately for a long, long time. But I actually got into it because when my former husband and I moved into a new house, things weren't going well. We had plenty of money coming in, but it was going right out the back door. The relationship was suffering. There was all kinds of stuff. So I just happened to be at the library and stumbled across a book on Feng Shui. And I started doing some things, and dang, if it didn't work, like very fast. So it really got me interested in it. I studied it for a long time just on my own. And then I got certified back in 2014, I got certified with the Wind and Water School of Feng Shui in the Twin Cities.
So is Feng Shui something that, I'm going to kind of straddle this line a little bit from the non-believer to the believer for a moment. Is this something that you need to believe in order for it to work? Now, how crazy is that question? Because
I know, right?
What's your spin on that?
On a basic level, I say no, but the thing about Feng Shui is it's really a lot about intention and what you are wanting. So it's not just about moving your stuff for no reason. It's like, why are you doing this? What is the point? What is the intention? What are you wanting to draw in?
Okay, so you don't have to believe it, but it certainly helps if you recognize when something is working. So I know a lot of it involves things like moving furniture around. Sometimes it involves like putting metal objects in places. Sometimes it involves covering water, colors of paint. Why don't you tell me some of the components that are present when you're trying to attempt to create an environment that is Feng Shui sensitive?
Yes. Yeah. And just kind of as a basis for the environment, what we are doing when we're doing Feng Shui is we're creating an environment that energetically supports you and the things that you want to have, be, and do in your life. So it's kind of creating that very nice, beautiful container. I like to say it speeds up the law of attraction. So when we're doing that, we're doing it with intention, as I mentioned. And there's a number of different components. So Feng Shui actually means literally wind and water.
Okay.
So it's very much about balance, and it is about bringing the environment or the natural elements into our home environment. So we do work with 5 elements when we're doing feng shui, and those would be wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So those are kind of the 5 elements that we work with, and we work with them in a cycle because there's a destructive cycle and a constructive cycle. And so when we're trying to alleviate, for instance, if you have a fireplace in your wealth corner, that can burn up your wealth.
Oh,
so
boy.
Then we would add, yeah, it happens. That's what was one of the.
Well, how do you correct something? I mean, let me play again devil's advocate for a second. A builder placed it there for some reason, and if I walk into a house and I'm buying the house, do I walk away from the purchase of the property because I have a fireplace that's in a money corner?
Not for that reason, because there's always, pretty much always, there's an adjustment for it. So almost everything we can do an adjustment. So in the place of, and maybe just to give people a frame of reference, when I'm talking about the different areas of your home, we have what we call a mental map that we use, and it's a Feng Shui Bagua. And it has 9 different areas, and each area correlates to a different area in your life. This is something that's available on my website. If people want to grab a copy of that, they can also just go and look at a picture of it.
Yeah, just quickly mention your website.
Sure.
And we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for it.
It's findingyourfiji, FIJI.com.
Okay.
And if you just go under the Feng Shui tab, you'll be able to see that right there. So the wealth corner, when you're facing your front door, standing outside the front door, is going to be the back left of your home, just to give people sort of a frame of reference. So if that's my
bedroom. I've often been told that the bedroom is the money room in my house.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, all right, I got it.
Yeah, it's all good. That's all good. And so the wealth corner, if somebody were to have a fireplace in that particular area, all we would do is either add the element of water to sort of douse that fire. So you could put a mirror above the fireplace, or a picture of water, or a little sailboat, or some shells. Something like that would be the water element. Or you could add the element of wood, because that actually feeds the fire. So it gives the fire something to do. And wood could be something that is green, something that's physically made out of wood, something that's long or columnar.
So I do love the fact that it's not just the placement of the things that are in your home, but it's actually the people that are in the home too. I had an interesting experience with JJ, in that when I moved into this home, it was a home that was previously occupied by her and her husband, and then we had the Feng Shui expert that is our local Feng Shui expert come in and do an analysis, or whatever you determine, what's it called when somebody comes in? Is it an analysis?
It's a consultation.
Oh, a consultation. Okay, so she came in and did a consultation, and what was interesting to me was the differences between that other male energy that was in the house and my male. Now, is it male or female energy, or is it person to person? Is it based upon a birth? What is it based upon?
Yeah, so it's based upon a birthday. So it's not necessarily male or female energy, although that does come into play with some things, but it's based upon your birthday, because each person has their own set of challenging and positive directions. So oftentimes there's adjustments that need to be done for different people within the home.
Okay, so I thought it was really interesting that there was such a huge difference between the things that were recommended. Now, again, part of it is also based upon the calendar too, isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have these myriad of sliding scales, and it's like, holy shit, I don't even know how do I know what to do, when to do? So tell me, like, what happens when somebody comes in here with all of those pieces, those sliding pieces? How do you determine what is the best thing for the house?
Yeah, so I actually practice a couple different forms of Feng Shui. So that's maybe something that we should recognize as well, is that there are many different styles of Feng Shui. There is the traditional Feng Shui, which is based on the compass directions, and that's where things change. Every February, which is the Chinese New Year, things shift a bit and change based on the new year, the new energy that's coming in. I also practice what we call a Western version of Feng Shui, which is based upon the front door. So it's a little bit easier for people to understand, a little bit easier to apply. And what I typically do with people, if they're brand new to me, I always start with the Western version of Feng Shui because it's easier for them to kind of grasp it and to understand it and to make simple changes without worrying about, the time aspect of it.
Really interesting. So tell me the connection between now. You again straddle how I straddle between someone that is never understood it to somebody that now believes it and understands it a little bit more, just enough to be dangerous about it. You straddle that line between somebody that practices or does the consultations, practices the art. I guess I would consider this an art.
Yes,
this is art. I know this
an art and a science.
And art and a science, right? So you practice the art and science, but you also go. Part of your intro is this psychic thing too. So how much of a psychic does one need to be in order to make Feng Shui a part of their life? Or is that just happen to be like the feather in your cap that you're a psychic as well?
It happens to be the feather in my cap, and it's very, very helpful, especially because I'm on Maui and I do a lot of remote consultations for people. So I'll often be on the phone with somebody just chatting with them, and I will get a visual of where the issue is in their house. And then I have the Feng Shui tools to share with them what to do about it. So it's really, really helpful. I also talk to homes, so I have an ability to be kind of a house whisperer where I actually can have a communication or conversation with the home. This is really helpful if you're trying to sell the home, particularly, and the home is not selling.
Tell me about that. Tell me about being a house whisperer. That's got to be totally cool. So you can actually hear what the house is saying and thinking.
Exactly.
And so what does that look like?
Yeah, it's really fascinating because homes have personalities just like people do. So you'll get, like, I remember this one house. I still remember her name because the name will come through too. And her name was Priscilla. And it was, she was very persnickety. Like, she was very picky about, and this house was not selling. And so she had some very, specific things that she wanted the owner to do. And in order to be able to move through that. And then it's just kind of sometimes feeling the energy. Sometimes there's even a sadness from the people that have been in the place before, because these homes oftentimes haven't been cleared. So that's the other piece of what I do, is actually energetically clearing homes, which is really helpful when we're trying to sell the home. And also, if people are moving into a new space.
Shit, I wish I knew that, because I'll tell you, the house that I moved into with my ex-wife many years ago, before we moved into the house, I felt like the house had a little bit of negative energy. It was in an environment where that couple had just gotten divorced. They had both moved out of the country. It was really a rough, and I felt a little of that, maybe because I knew the story and I felt that energy, or maybe because there was actually that energy in the house.
Yes.
And damn it, wouldn't you know it, that my wife and I got divorced.
See, and that's that predecessor energy. So that's one of the questions I always ask on my intake form is, who lived there before? What was going on with them? Were they successful? Did they go bankrupt? Were they divorced? What was happening? Because those are things that we want to clear out.
Damn it, I was so unconscious. So
well, it's just, it's live and learn, right? Like, that's part of the deal.
That was an expensive lesson, though. If I would have just started asking some fucking questions ahead of time, that would have been much better than that. That got
I had a house not too long ago that literally had been on and off the market. It was a house in New Jersey, had been on and off the market for like 3 years, never got one single offer. And someone had committed suicide in the home. And so when I went, I did a remote clearing. So I never had been to the space, but I did a remote clearing and a communication with the space and cleared it. And once that home sold, they had a contract within 30 days.
Wow.
So it works really fast too. That's the other thing I love about it.
So law of attraction says that whatever you believe or whatever you think and whatever you energize, and whatever comes out of you is what you get back. Now, I think a lot of times just the belief that it works will help it work. And again, I know that there is some science. I know there's some art involved. But I want to make the rubber hit the road here. So I want you to share a couple of things that people can do so that they can test this out themselves. Because Nice Guy Community, you know me, I am while I'm a very sensitive guy, I am a little bit skeptical and sometimes cynical about things. So why don't you share some things that we should be doing in, I don't know, can we do the office? Because a lot of people spend a lot of time in one spot in their office. So can we do that? Okay,
yes,
help me with a couple of action items that people can do for their office, and let's see what we can come up with.
Perfect. So one thing that's really important in your office is that you have a high back chair with arms. So this is really about support, having the support in your business and for decision making. I've had some clients where they are sitting on a Bosu ball, and you will never ever see an executive in office building on a Bosu ball. They're always going to be in that high back chair with the arms, right? So that is something that you can do to just create that supportive environment for yourself. It's best if your back is to a wall, so you do have a solid wall behind you. That's really, really helpful, just because, again, that support and to be able to see the door. So many times we have, desk situations where our back is to the door, and that leaves us feeling unprepared for what's coming at us in our business and our life. So if you can turn that desk around or even put a mirror up so that you can see the door, that's going to help.
Well, what's interesting about what you're saying is we had, and I've heard that before about facing the door. Unfortunately, the way that my office is situated, from an energy perspective, our consultation led me to have to face my desk towards the window instead of the door. So your workaround for that is to put a mirror so I can see the door?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Huh. Really interesting. Okay, those are a couple of cool things. Now, how about for a home? If somebody wants to try to find an easy fix for their home?
Yeah, so the home aspect of things, one of the places that's really super important is the front door. And this is important whether you use it or not, although I do encourage people to use the front door because that's where all the energy comes into the home, all of the opportunities. So do what you can to make the front door stand out. It should be a different color than the rest of the house, so different color than the shutters and the siding. Or you can hang a pretty wreath or something like that on the door to help it stand out. Another thing that you can do is add something with movement by the front door. This is particularly helpful if you have a home that is in a cul-de-sac, or if you have a very long driveway that leads to your home, because it's just more challenging for the energy to get to you. Cul-de-sacs, kind of the energy gets stuck there because it doesn't flow through, and long driveways, it's just we want to be able to pull it in. So like a flag or a wind chime or some kind of whirligig or something with movement by the front door.
So many cool things. So how does one, if somebody was interested in trying to figure out whether they even should be doing something like this or not, is there anyone that this is not for? Is there anybody that should it's just, not my
I would say no, because
our
environment, it just affects all of us.
Right.
Everything is energy. So that's one thing that, once you realize that everything is energy and all the things in your home, particularly this comes up when we talk about the subject of clutter, whether that's clutter on your desk or clutter in some other area of your home, it's very heavy energy and it does impact you.
Okay. Really interesting. So in order to take a deeper dive into this, you've put together a retreat that involves a myriad of activities. So why don't you share a little bit about the retreat that you're putting together, and where is it going to be? Business expense? What was this?
I know, it's going to be on Maui.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and it's beautiful south side of Maui. We rented a beautiful villa. It's going to be amazing. The retreat is called Vitally You. So it's really about getting back to that vitally you, like that really vibrant person that's excited about work and life. We are going to be working on actually office Feng Shui. So we'll be doing workshopping people's offices and doing Feng Shui with that. We're also going to be really focusing on all of the elements. So each of the 5 main days of the retreat will have a focus of one of the elements, and the food and everything that we do that day will be sort of centered around that element, so that people get a real sense of like, oh, what is this about? And what is this? How does that impact me, that particular element? And then, of course, we're going to be doing some fun stuff on Maui. We're going to be hiking to some waterfalls and snorkeling and doing a full moon bonfire and all kinds of other fun stuff as well.
I just need to say, JJ road trip. Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
I want to do it. I want to do it. Yeah, and I hear that Southwest is opening up travel to Hawaii. I don't know if they fly to the island that you're on, but we have been waiting. We were going to go to Hawaii in March, but we hear the federal shutdown is causing some problems. So we're hoping by the time this airs, that is not a problem. But even if it is, we're going to figure out another way to get to Hawaii, and hopefully that would be really cool. I'd love to attend something like that.
It's amazing. Super fun.
So all right, one final tip. Somebody that is interested in finding out more information about Feng Shui, or they want to take an action item, they want to get right down to it right now. Any final words of wisdom or advice that you can share with them?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel that has typically every Friday I do a quick Feng Shui tip. So Feng Shui Fridays, there's lots and lots of videos on there about all kinds of different topics. And they can just go onto my YouTube channel. It's under my name, Kim Julene, and they can find information there as well as on my website,
Awesome.
myNewEnergy.com.
Awesome. Well, Kim, thank you so much for all of your messaging, and you have been probably one of the easiest guests I think I had to reschedule, and you just completely just helped me. You did everything You made the environment perfect for me, which is pretty typical of a Feng Shui expert, I would say.
Nice.
So thank you for being here and sharing your message.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
Nice guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of a well-placed desk chair. Special thanks to Kim Julene. She will, all of our information, including the link to her retreat and everything else, will be right there in the show notes.